Wonderful. Welcome to NCASA's 2021 Educational Leadership Conference. We're so happy to have you here today. And I wanted to take just a short moment before I introduce our wonderful host today to just highlight some of the interesting things that happened at the very beginning of COVID-19. You know, some people took to the streets. They couldn't stand being stuck in the house, and they did photo shoots in their wedding gowns, staying socially distanced, of course. And then others dressed their pets up in different outfits daily and started Instagram accounts for them. Still, we had wonderful essential workers like this mail carrier who dressed up every week differently to deliver mail to everyone in the neighborhood. And who can forget this hashtag lockdown lip sync between these two comedians? And then we also had very interesting learning curves with Zoom. You guys remember the boss that couldn't take off the potato filter during his meeting? And of course, there were a lot of other Zoom blunders that we all remember. Then there was this interesting couple who fought over the last chip because, you know, things flew off the shelf in the grocery stores. You couldn't just get anything you wanted at any time. And so they safely locked this chip away. Unbeknownst to his wife, he created a paper mache chip and ate it secretly. But then there were also wonderful opportunities for parents to make things normal for teenagers who were going through really rough times. This amazing dad created his own Starbucks drive-through experience, movie experience, and even McDonald's experience. And some people looked out for our furry friends and created outdoor restaurants for them. But not everything during this time was hunky-dory. There were people who stood up and in our communities when things were dark and unsure, and they made sure that we had a pathway, a beacon, a light to look at. And those were our school districts. Our schools are our centers of our communities, and our superintendents made sure that those who were hungry were still fed. Before our government even gave extra dollars for technology, our educators made sure that education was still in the hands of our students and passed out laptops. For the seniors who didn't experience prom or graduation in the normal way, our superintendents, school districts made sure that each student felt valuable and cared for. And it wasn't just the students. We looked out for teachers. Our superintendents, our districts made sure that educators knew that they were valuable and that we were in the trenches with them, rooting them on. Two of these superintendents and two of these districts were Dr. Travis Reeves from Surrey County and Dr. Jeff Booker. During this time, Dr. Reeves and Dr. Booker were visionaries. At a time when it was dark in our communities, they were the lighthouse saying, hey, not today. We are still standing strong. We're still moving forward. We've got this. So I just wanted to take a moment to introduce Dr. Reeves. He's from Surrey County. He was the 2019 P-TECH Superintendent of the Year. And Dr. Jeff Booker was also the Regional Superintendent of the Year in 2017. He was also an elite athlete, if you don't know a little bit about his background, and had a whole career in finance before becoming a superintendent. Both of these gentlemen have led districts through dark times into the light, never gave up, even when it was hard. And I think, Mr. Reeves, you even had a high school senior now going through all of this. So thank you so much for all that you've done. We're really excited to learn from you today on successful virtual academies.
Okay, Deanne, I'm going to go ahead and give you access. All right, Deanne, you should be good to go.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, you are.
Okay, ready to go.
You want me to go ahead, Dan?
Take it
Great.
away, Dr. Booker.
Super. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I was honored when Travis called and said we should work together because we've been doing a lot of things together with our two districts. When you talk about Gaston County schools, we are part of the Charlotte metropolitan area. There are a little over 200,000 residents in our county, and in the city of Gastonia, they have a little over 80,000. And so we have the challenge of a geography that is concentrated and then gets rural. And so when you think about growth, our county that borders Charlotte has a lot of growth, and the further west you get has declining growth. And so with those things, it causes us various problems or opportunities, as we like to call them. So we operate 55 total schools, 54 that are brick and mortar, and then a 55th that is our virtual school. And in 2000, if you talked about Gaston County schools, we had one choice, and it was a now blue ribbon school, Highland School of Technology. And now as we enter into the coming school year, we will be offering 23 different choices for our students within the 54 brick and mortar schools. And one of the choices being the 55th, the virtual. We're a community that has a lot of day-to-day challenges, with 65% of our folks receiving some form of free or reduced price meals. But we're really proud of the progress that has gone. If you looked at this year's career technical education, we were the #1 district in both credentials earned and percentage of classes passed by our students. And so we really pride ourselves on that. And that's kind of a quick overview of Gaston County. Being the second largest employer, I talk a lot of times about, with 30,000 students, 4,000 employees, we are the community, and we look for the community's support. Travis, Surrey County.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And it's an honor to work with you and your team with this presentation, obviously highlighting virtual academies in an urban area and in a rural area like Surrey County. And I just want to say thank you to Gaston County Schools for your help during this process. Surrey County Schools, we're located in Northwest North Carolina. We border Virginia. We have 19 brick and mortar schools, 1 virtual school, 11 elementary, 3 traditional middle schools. We have 1 STEM magnet school. That's 1 school of choice for our middle school students. We have 3 traditional high schools, 1 early college, another choice option for our families. And now we've added a 3rd choice option in our online magnet school. Our Board of Education, you'll hear a little bit later, we started with virtual learning through the Surrey Virtual Academy and really offering our high school students flexible options. And so it's been a goal of ours to expand that virtual academy further. And so obviously with the pandemic, we've had to take that idea and move it very quickly. We serve about 7,500 students, and we have 500 teachers, 1,100 employees. We're the largest employer in Surrey County, and Surrey County has about 73,000 people. And in our county, one thing that we're focused on is really trying to help connect our students to local businesses, jobs, STEM-related careers right here in Surrey County. And I think most of us that are in rural North Carolina continually see our students and families looking elsewhere. And I do believe as educators, it's our job to try to help connect those students at least to the opportunities right here at home before they start looking elsewhere. And so we've really focused on trying to create flexible options for our families. And so the magnet school, the online magnet school that you're going to learn about today, is another flexible option that was really necessitated by the pandemic, but has been an idea for several years in Surrey County schools. So it's an honor to work with Gaston today and present this information. I'm very proud of my team. Next slide, Deanne.
So why would anyone want to do this? There's some obvious answers that we put on there. We started our virtual academies actually 4 years ago because we saw, one, that people wanted options. And when we started expanding our choice selections, one of the things we heard is, what about me? I have a student and she is an equestrian and is nationally ranked. I don't fit into your traditional school option, but I would like your support. I don't want to homeschool. We knew we had a growing population of homeschool in our community. What could we do to support them and keep them a part of the Gaston County schools? So we began that program, and you're going to hear from two of our leaders, because when we saw the virtual academy and it went through its steps as this pandemic hit us, it became an opportunity to really look at what we were doing. And Dr. Melissa Balknight, who was the brainchild 4 years ago, thinking about how we could do this, she worked, and we enlisted Dr. Jill Payne, who's a member of our Hawks Nest STEAM Academy, serving as the principal there, which is one of our dynamic choices countywide, has been recognized for numerous opportunities in how they do project-based learning there. And so they came alongside to do part of our virtual academy. And so the two of them will get into the detail, but our biggest thing is, like a lot of what we do, we want to serve our community, and we saw virtual as an option. And we ultimately had over 7,000 people choose the virtual option as we moved into our school year that began last August. Travis?
And Jeff, our why is very similar, just on a smaller level. We've seen a large number of families, I really believe because of convenience, choose homeschool education in Surrey County. And all of us realize there are great homeschools and there are homeschools that really don't have any accountability. So prior to the pandemic, just at the February board meeting, our board passed a homeschool partnership agreement where we were going to partner with our homeschool families, not only through academics, but through extracurriculars, because we wanted to offer the best to those families, because we really felt like we are a great choice. And if we could get them in our doors and help them understand all that we're offering in public education, their students will want to stay. So all that work was really had been going in our district for over a year, as far as this whole piece of recruiting homeschool families and then creating the partnership. And then in March of 2020, we had the pandemic. So, a year ago, this school in Surrey County did not exist, and the idea did not exist. This idea really wasn't born until about May of 2020. So we're going to talk about a school today that's less than 1 year old. I know when we started talking about this, we were really concerned in April and May of how many students were we going to lose due to the pandemic. I've already mentioned the loss of ADM. We wanted to make sure that we were looking at, one, increasing ADM from homeschool families, but also we wanted to maintain the ADM that we currently had. Also, I mentioned the Surrey Virtual Academy. Dr. Danley will mention that later in the next slide, but we have had a virtual academy for about 7 years where we create flexible high school options and offering 28 courses. We wanted to expand that. So this was natural for us because we've seen and had really great experiences with the virtual academy at our high schools and kind of an a la carte option. And another goal of ours was to expand our magnet school choice for our families. And so for many reasons, this became a necessity. I also want to say one key for us has been flexibility throughout the process, not only for students, but for staff. And during the pandemic, and as we were on a stay-at-home order, we realized that we would have some staff members that had medical reasons for not coming back. So we utilized our online magnet school to help give our employees another choice also. So again, the why may be different, but in a lot of regards, it's very similar. Next slide, Deanne.
Dr. Bachknight, do you want to talk about the system model for Gaston?
You're muted, Melissa.
Well, I'll go go ahead and start and talk about Surrey County Schools and our system model. As Dr. Reeves just mentioned, I'm Deanne Danley, the Assistant Superintendent, and we are, 7 years ago, we had launched a Surrey Virtual Academy. It was designed and created to give our current 11th and 12th graders some flexibility within their schedules. We have a lot of opportunities for our students for internships, college courses, and early graduation. And we wanted to make sure that we were flexible and adaptive to meet the needs of all of our students. We are pleased that we offer 34 courses. These courses are designed within our Surrey County Schools instructional framework, and they are taught by our teachers. It provides another opportunity for our staff to earn additional income. They teach these lessons and courses are asynchronous, and they monitor and do the grading outside of their regular day. This semester, currently, we are supporting 124 traditional high school students and 78 of our Surrey Online Magnet students. We are also proud that we can offer high school courses during the summer so that students can take a part of their learning during the summer to get ahead so that they can have opportunities for internships or have opportunities to take more of our college and career courses through our local community college. And so it was a natural progression for us to expand our current virtual academy and developed our Surrey Online Magnet School. As Dr. Reeves noted, it's not even a year old yet, but we did open this up to grades 3 through 12. We felt like that would be an appropriate grade span to meet the needs of the families in our community during the pandemic. And we have enrolled around 200 students in August for our new school.
Family. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Melissa Baldwin, Associate Superintendent of Gaston County Schools, as Dr. Booker mentioned earlier. And I'm happy to talk about our journey. We are actually 4 years old in our Gaston Virtual Academy. We started out in our first year to get the just right students. We wanted those children that were trained for the Olympics or planning to be an equestrian. And we started in middle school because we didn't want the challenges of high school athletics and the unknown of what does it look like for virtual children at the elementary level. So we started in grades 6 through 8 with 25 students. And so we were thrilled to meet our goal of 25. We had more to apply, but we have a screening tool that we use and felt that the 25 were the best to use, to select. And then in year 2, we grow our grade levels every year.
I was on those minutes.
So we have grades 4 through 9 in our year 2, and we moved to 78 students. Our goal was 75, but we had 78 great candidates, and those included the 25 that returned. And then in year 3, we moved to grades 4 through 10 with 94 students. And then the pandemic happened, and we had to quickly move our school to a K-12 model. We ended up with 7,100 students. We offer synchronous and asynchronous instruction. We have created our own courses as well, Gaston Online, called Go Classes, for all of our core content areas. And so we have been happy to serve our families. We actually have opened and closed our choice application window for this school for next year. And even though we're anticipating that schools will return to a more normal environment, we still have 2,000 applicants that have applied to be a part of our Gaston Virtual Academy. So we do believe that we've done some things right this year and in the previous years, and have had lots of positive feedback from our community about school will never be the same. And they're thankful and appreciative of the opportunity to have the flexibility for their family and for their child, because it has eliminated several things that they've not had to deal with at school this year. At this time, I would like to turn it over to our principals, Dr. Jill Payne, who is the sitting principal at Hopson's Intermediate, one of our Proud Choice programs, also has agreed to lead as the elementary principal for Gaston Virtual Academy this year with another principal in our district. So we have shared principals this year just because of the unexpected growth of the academy. And so I'll turn it over to her at this time, Dr. Payne. And the challenge may be that the host may need to unmute her.
With the process, we began initial conversations and research determining which vendors we would like to use, and we opened it up with our grade level decisions. We went with a vendor and vendor teachers to provide instruction serving students in grades 6 through 8 with some tutor support from our in-house teachers. We did weekly planning meetings, including the application and enrollment process. We looked at the eligible student profiles, and those are some things that Dr. Baldwin just spoke about, and the fact of who was a good candidate for our program to launch. We looked at the course alignment, how we would utilize teachers and tutors. We started off using vendor teachers, and we moved throughout over the years to utilizing Gaston County school teachers. All along, we used our Gaston County school teachers as tutors. We have revised our policies for attendance throughout the process. We have looked at how we align our students. Are they aligned to their homeschool, or are they a part of Gaston Virtual Academy? We had to decide on what type of devices our students would utilize and how they would be served in their EC 504, AIG, and ESL settings. We did information sessions and marketing with our parents to make sure that they were aware of what the opportunities were for them. And then our application went live, and like Dr. Baldwin said, has closed, and we had over 2,000 applicants at this time.
As we stated, Surrey Online Magnet School is not even a year old. And so we started in late April, May of last year. And Dr. Reeves gave our team a challenge. He said, we're going to open our 20th school. And after a few deep breaths, I said, yes, sir, I'll be ready. I'll do my part. And so we began to meet twice a week. We quickly established and worked to get a school number. We did a parent interest survey. We worked on our staffing and teacher licensure. We lined up some professional development. We knew that this staff would need to quickly become experts in delivering instruction in a virtual world. And one of the most important things we did is we hired a principal, and I'm proud that she is with us presenting today. Her name is Miss Kristen Blake. And we were able to maintain our overall ADM by offering this to our families. And we did use and utilize our CARES funding. And these great principals are going to continue to tell you about the instructional method of how we delivered instructional coursework to our students.
So in Gaston County, we opened very quickly in year 1 with 25 students. And we used a vendor with vendor teachers to provide instructions to serve students in grades 6 through 8 with the tutor support from our Gaston County teachers. We quickly recognized that this did not provide strong alignment and was not the most efficient, and it lacked the personal connection that we pride ourselves in providing our students. We offered students the opportunity to become engaged in weekly enrichment activities like band, chorus, on-site field trips, and other activities. We worked to serve students and build relationships through face-to-face orientations, and provided training to everyone on the learning management system. Over the course of several years, our instruction has moved to offering synchronous and asynchronous instruction, and our students all come on campus for our all standardized testing.
And I'm Kristen, the principal at the Surrey Online Magnet School. And some of our core focuses at our school is personalization, flexibility, and support. So that was one of the things that we really wanted to focus on and make sure that we provided for our students and our families. So with the personalization, we work with our students to create the pathway that's best for them. We start with a fully online program. So all of our courses and all of our offerings are online. However, we do give the option for students, if they're interested in carpentry or something like that, to attend a face-to-face class at their attendance zone school. So we kind of talk to the students, find out what they need and what they're interested in, and set that up. For our high school students, we also make sure that they can participate in their CCP courses, their CTE courses, and their internships. Again, just looking at the individual student and what they need. As I stated before, flexibility was extremely important for us. We want to allow some of our high school students to work a full-time job and be able to work at their schoolwork at night or at different times during the day. So the majority of our instruction is asynchronous. We do have some support sessions available through our daily teacher office hours, but we also had to make sure our students knew and understood that there were some times that they had to come into the building for that state and federal testing and things like that. For our individualized instruction for our students, we have implemented Exact Path through Edmentum so that the students can take a diagnostic test and be able to complete pathways based on what they need and what support they need there. And we are mastery based with our program. So students work until they can master and understand the concepts, and they have multiple times to retake tests and things like that with support from their teachers. And we chose to utilize, especially since we started in a very small amount of time, adminum courseware in Calvert. And we're going to move towards creating our own classes, our own courses as we go forward.
Kristen, I believe there's a question in the chat. Dr. Jackson asked, are the teachers housed in a school?
No, our teachers work from home.
Okay, what lessons have we learned? After realizing that we needed stronger alignment to curriculum to our standards and a need for more course offerings, we began creating our own coursework to allow for that alignment and to the ability to personalize the learning to meet the needs of our students. In year 2 and 3, we began a blended model for students, and we employed all of our teachers from within Gaston County, regardless if they were supporting a supplemental vendor course or the course created in-house. We also revised in year 2 and 3 our enrichment program to a more club-based approach, where students were engaged in clubs like chess, Battle of the Books, robotics, math, and then there were others. Participating in competition teams was promoted, and in just year 3, our Battle of the Books team competed and won at the district level. So we were thrilled at the level of engagement of our Gaston virtual students.
And since we were in our first year, we really learned the most important lesson was the application process. You have to take time to make sure that, as they stated earlier, you get the just right students. So that's one of the things our teachers have struggled with, is trying to accommodate students of all rounds and all abilities. And, you know, some that are here for different reasons, COVID, and some are here for the other program. And so that's one of the things we're working towards this year. And also attendance policy was something that we really had to focus on, because at the beginning, we allowed them to just kind of daily check in. And that was one of the struggles that we had, because then we had students falling behind pace. So we wanted to make sure that we changed that. And now attendance is based on whether or not you complete the assignments for the week that you're required to complete. So they do have to do that. We found out that counselor and support staff, we need to make sure that you have a strong counselor and support staff, because we need somebody down there finding the students. We need help with attendance. We need to make sure they're on track and doing what they need to do. And it can't just be the teachers and the administration. So we needed lots of support through a counselor and support staff. And it's really important to have a parent commitment. We quickly learned that our families were who we needed to work with. It's not just an individual child. We have to focus on the family as a whole. I don't know how many social and emotional conversations I've had for support, and I was dealing with the parent. So we have to really focus on the parent, make sure they can provide a commitment to help us. And so we did adjust, and now parents have to sign a memorandum of understanding going forward to make sure they understand their role. And one of the important things that I didn't even realize, that I thank goodness they did ahead of time, was where to put my office. Where should you put the principal and the school? And at first I had just an office in the building, but we quickly learned that we needed more space. We're going to need some space to pull students in face to face and be able to work with them just on individual things if needed, but not a requirement. And also, as the principal, it was best to not have me serve at a different school. That way we could build our own identity and also be able to create an ability for me to be a little bit different from the traditional principal.
Okay, best practices. I'd like to share with you more of the progression and how we have been able to identify some of the best practices over the years. Like we said earlier, we launched in year 1 with grades 6 through 8. Each year we have expanded that grade level by a grade level up and adding a grade level below. And then until this year with the pandemic, and we opened at K-12. Our increases in our enrollment were rapid. We are now serving over 7,000 students. But because we have created so much coursework in the core coursework in grades 6 through 12 and housing it in the Gaston online platform, which is called Go Gaston, we were prepared to provide digital learning opportunities in-house for our middle and high school students. We do still offer some supplemental electives through a vendor. This year, due to the increased enrollment, we offered families in all 3 levels the opportunity to engage in instruction via synchronous or asynchronous. We had to hire and reallocate teachers to meet the demands of the enrollment. This has been instrumental, as our teachers, our Gaston County teachers, they know the content, they know the resources available to them, and they know the technology that is available. Then we really focused on creating strong PLCs where they collaborated and learned how to connect all three of those components to benefit the students in the virtual environment. Our synchronous teachers teach high quality instruction each and every day in the morning live with small groups in the afternoon. And our asynchronous students, they have a little luxury. They were our academic services department created core content for grades K through 5 in all content areas that meet the rigor of the standard. And so those students are working independently at their own pace, and they meet with a learning coach each week. Through the redesign, we're able to provide more school-like days for the students. That includes morning meetings, lab sites or labs, participation in One Book, One School, and student recognition. We've also tried to help our students connect with being a GVA student through student drive-throughs and school shirts, as well as a GVA library that we just opened a couple of weeks ago, where students can come in and check out books. So to summarize, the strongest best practices we can say is the expansion of our program because it gives more opportunity to students. Utilizing our GCS teachers because that helps us build relationships with students in our community, and our core curriculum creation, which has allowed us to offer GVA to more students. Ms. Blake?
Here at Surrey Online Magnet School, relationships are extremely important. I was a little nervous when I first got this job about how I was going to be able to build relationships in a virtual setting. But one of the best things that I did is make sure that we allow parents in on our discussions. They are our partners, they are our teammates. So every email that goes out to the students, we make sure that we also copy the parents on. We also have weekly progress reports that go home with the parents. So our teachers send out progress each week and updates and information. And we establish 2 parent conferences each year. So we have one at the end of the first quarter and one at the end of the third quarter, so that we can make sure that they know and understand where their students are and how they can support them. Another thing that's really important, especially with my teachers working from home, is to make sure that we have a relationship together. So the first thing I did, especially as we were building this school, because we were building it and flying it at the same time, was to have morning meetings. So our students are asleep during the morning. So all of our meetings are in the morning, and we met every morning at 8:15, and we began just kind of updating and answering questions. We've continued those meetings as we go, but right now we only have them on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8:15. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have blocked out 2 hours for them to meet as a PLC. So that gives them their planning time and their time to work together, and I attend those meetings. So we do touch base with each other every day. And that is one of the most important things I can say about building relationships with your staff. Another thing I would say is make sure you know the student stories. And I was really surprised to say that I know my students in my school better than I did in a face-to-face building, because I talk to the teachers, they copy me on emails, we have chats together. I know who's doing what in what room and how their parents are working, and I know their story at home too. So that was one of the most surprising but good things that I learned. Also, we want to establish a school community. We are a school. We are not joined with all the other schools. We are our own school, and we want to make sure people understand that. And that's been a confusion because we opened up in the middle of a pandemic. So we've created a logo, which I absolutely love our logo. So we are the Trailblazers. We did school clothing, and we are now going to send out for any students who have decided to stay with us next year a yard sign that they can put in their yard. That way our school is out in the community and we have a location, because your home is your school. So that we want to make sure that you have school pride with that. We also have created a yearbook for our students, and that's been quite interesting. How do you get virtual pictures? But we've been able to do that. But again, one of the biggest things that came out, especially during this pandemic, was the social and emotional support. We could see that from our students. We knew that we needed that. And so in January, we started Triple T Time, which is every Tuesdays for an hour per grade. And we meet with them and just provide them with that socialization. They can talk with each other. We have some activities and social and emotional lessons that we provide them. We also have created parent support sessions. Like I've said before, we can't do it without them. So we need to make sure they have the resources and the assistance that they need to be able to help us. And we send out with our weekly staff newsletter, and also in our weekly parent newsletter, tidbits and tips on how to provide social and emotional support, because we have to provide them that help since they are our partners.
Okay, what challenges have we faced? Well, with the rapid growth I believe relationships, they have improved so much since the beginning of the year. And like Ms. Blake said, they are key to the success of everyone. But they presented much more of a challenge than I think we all expected. Virtual relationships are just different. Teachers have had to learn new ways to connect with students. Elementary, I felt like, was much easier because there's only one teacher for the students, and the students only have to learn the teacher only has to learn a certain 20 whatever kids, and then the student only has to learn one teacher. Our middle and high schools, they have multiple teachers, so that presents a greater challenge. We are proud to say that those relationships are forming. They just took longer to form than we expected, and our teachers had to be much more creative in fostering those connections. Another area that presented a little bit of a challenge was our attendance, and it was twofold. Our attendance presented the challenge because we did cross enrollment and because of the engagement level. So cross enrollment, our principals wanted to keep our kids assigned to our home schools because we felt like after the pandemic, if at all possible, our students would be coming back to our home school, and we wanted to keep them connected to our school and help ensure that they felt a part. So my Hawks Nest students, I wanted to include them in every possible thing that we offered at school that they could participate in, so that they knew they were still, while they were being served by GVA, they were still a Hawks Nest student. And that has worked beautifully in keeping our students engaged. However, when you have 54 schools being attendance, it can create its own little set of challenges. So we've had to work through how we record attendance and ensure that all 54 schools are doing it exactly the same way with that many teachers involved. The other part is engagement. Students just not always coming to class or being on screen when they're supposed to be for the face-to-face live or for the live instruction online. And so, like Ms. Blake said, relationships are huge, and your support staff, your student support staff is huge in helping make this happen. We have utilized our social workers, our counselors to help us connect with families, to help us build those relationships so that we are now at a point to, in a lot of our classrooms, if Johnny doesn't show up for class, I can call mom right then and get Johnny in class. But that has been a huge challenge we've had to overcome, is how do we effectively keep our students engaged online each day? So some things that have come from that: in asynchronous, we had to redesign how we measured attendance, because that was also an area. We were measuring it in a different way. So we had to go through and we made it to where all asynchronous attendance is measured with work completed, since the students only participate in check-in meetings and they work independently through their lessons. And our synchronous attendance for live instruction determines the student's attendance. So just having multiple ways that we measure attendance, that also can present some challenges for families and for teachers. We did find when teachers increase the quality of their instruction, it improves their engagement and the students' attendance. And teachers having strong relationships also improved attendance and engagement because those students wanted to be in class and wanted to be with their teacher. So we hope that that helped. With our parents, we think what the parent support, parents want to help their children and they want their children to be successful. We felt like the greatest learning curve in moving into virtual, the greatest challenge was for our parents. We felt like students adapted the quickest, our teachers were right behind, and then our parents are still working and having, some of them still having a hard time. But it's been hard because they want to help. They just don't always know how, or they're not able to help the way that they need to. We have done things like creating Parent University, provide video support for parents, just with little small clips to let them know how to get into their learning platform, how to check their students' work, where to go to get help for things. These things all helped while our parents had challenges, but most of importantly, they've all come so far, and that they're all working together to help their kids be successful.
And I've talked about quite a few of the challenges that we've already met as we went along, but one of the things I want to mention is that because we are a 3rd through 12th grade school, that is one of the challenges that we've had, how to balance all of the different levels and grade levels and the different requirements. And attendance was where that really came into play, because we decided at the beginning that we were going to take attendance by the day. And now that we've re-looked at it, it's best to do it by the course, because that way we can see if a child is doing better in one course and working harder in one course, then it's not going to show up as well if they've been, you're taking it by the day. So I think that's something we might change going forward, is taking attendance by the course versus by the day. And that's one of the things you have to do for all the school at the same time, no matter what grade level it is. The other thing that we've really noticed is that we have to we want to be flexible. We want to provide you with as much flexibility as possible, but there are times that you have to be required to attend some things. For example, in high school, ACT is extremely important. And so how do you support students with ACT when you can't require them to come in for certain sessions and things like that, either virtually or in the building? So one of the things we're looking at is next year, having flexibility in your required amount of time you have to come. So we may offer some required sessions, but we'll have 2 separate times for you to attend. But that's one of the things that we've noticed is some of the test taking strategies and skills and some of those sessions, we need to make sure that we find time and require them to attend those. The other struggle we're having, we are a small school. So staffing is something we really have to be really innovative on. So we have right now 7 teachers and some part-time teachers assisting us. So we have to look at their licensure. We have to find out what they can teach, and multiple license means you might teach multiple things. And we also have to make sure we have the right type of teachers for our program. We need teachers that are flexible, that know how to work technology, that are comfortable maybe not having the same kind of relationship that they had in the classroom, and can listen to the PD and kind of take that in and learn how they can apply what they did in the actual face-to-face setting to a virtual world. And so those are some of the challenges that we're facing.
The next steps, in Gaston County, we are tweaking the enrollment process. And like Dr. Baldwin said, we've created a new application and screening process. And that has our enrollment period for this upcoming year has closed with over 2,000 applicants. Our students will not be cross-enrolled next year. And our students must have demonstrated success in the virtual academy this year to be eligible for next year. With the full roster of students, we'll be using our Gaston County teachers for synchronous instruction, as well as hiring some part-time teachers to facilitate our supplemental courses and help with our asynchronous. Our attendance policy for next year will mirror the second semester, where asynchronous is measured by work completed and synchronous will be by physical attendance. Students must maintain acceptable attendance to be eligible to continue in enrollment. But ultimately, we're just excited about the opportunities that the future has for Gaston Virtual Academy and the students of Gaston County.
And at Surrey, for Surrey Online Magnet School, I have big goals. I have lots of ideas and lots of things that I would like to do. So we have to kind of figure out what is our most important. And one of the things that we have to work on is, because our school was built so quickly and in the middle of a pandemic, A, some people don't know who we are, and B, I don't know how many times I've heard that we're a COVID school. So how do we get that mindset to change from we are a COVID school to we are a choice school? So we need to work on making sure that they understand that we're here to stay. We want you to graduate with us. So that's one of the things we're going to work on, is marketing it to more to our parents, our teachers, our principals, make sure everybody understands that we are here to stay. And we might have been created during COVID, but we are here to stay. We also have utilized our revised application process. It's a little bit more detailed. We want to make sure we get the right type of students in. And so that's one of the things we've done. Post-COVID, we want to have fun. We want to be a family. We want you to know that when you are Surrey Online Magnet School, we are there and we know your child and we know you, and we're going to have fun with you. So we'd like to hold family nights and field trips and things like that. But right now we got to get through COVID for that. We're very excited that we're going to establish an esports team next year. So we want to get in the world of athletics. Some of our students do participate in athletics through the traditional schools, but we want to have our own team and our own coach. We also want to expand our social and emotional services. We still think that there's some things we can do to help support our students and make sure that they're getting what they need. And we're going to revise our instructional delivery. We've spent a lot of time, and I'm sure many of you have too, on making sure that students are doing the work. Now we need to make sure that they know how to do the work, but how do we support them if they're not on grade level? So we're going to incorporate a few more individualized help sessions and things like that, some synchronous learning maybe for some students, and just try to figure out another plan to reach their individual needs and see if we can expand on what we're already doing.
Well, Dr. Reeves, I don't know about you, but I'm tired. These folks have done so much work, and I think back to when Dr. Balknight first came to me and said, we really need to look at this, to hear it. And I can tell you, I was taking notes. We learned from each other a couple of the ideas. I saw Dr. Payne kind of roll her eyes and start doing that look that always means it's going to cost me money when she heard Kristen talk about the EA Sports option. So all of that just shows that we learn from each other, and this has been a learning experience for us every day. and we'll continue to grow. Travis?
Well, Jeff, I would agree. I'm tired just listening to our teams talk and really work through all the challenges that we've encountered during the creation. I know from my standpoint, we really stood this school up quickly, but we had to, and it really took a lot of time, energy, and effort. And I just can't say enough about Kristen Blake and Deanne Danley for the work they put into our school. And you can hear the passion, and Kristen's doing a great job as our principal. At the bottom of our, obviously you can see our email addresses there, but there's a bit.ly that's got many of the documents that Kristen has referenced today. And Jeff, I want to say a big thanks to Gaston County Schools, because we've leaned heavily on your work and your experience for 3 years in the virtual school setting. We were just entering this, and I just want everyone to hear this on the call. We leaned heavily on Gaston to really inform our work as we've created this model. And obviously we've still got a lot to learn, but it's made a difference for our students. We have a lot of success to really celebrate, and a lot of challenges that we still need to overcome. And I think all of us, we're still learning what does online learning really look like. But I think we all agree it is here to stay. And it is a marketplace that if we're not in that, we better be in that area, because someone's going to take our market share. And I know we're really trying to compete hard and heavy with these online charter schools. We feel like we offer a great product. We feel like our teachers are going to connect. We're trying to offer something to families that they don't have in a larger setting with that online charter version. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for all school systems across North Carolina to take a little bit that each of us have learned and possibly make it their own. And so we do have some time for questions. And so Jeff and I are going to try to moderate these questions, but I can assure you, if we don't know the answer, we're going to point you to the right people.
And Travis, I'll jump in right. One of the questions I saw early on was a really good one that we spent a lot of energy on. Dr. Payne touched on a little bit, but I'm going to ask Dr. Balknight, kind of talk about how you went through establishing the day and a teacher's role in that day, because we, to Travis's earlier credit, working over this the last 3 years, we've done some adaptation. So Dr. Balknight.
So I will start with sort of bringing some of the questions together, because I think they have crossed over. For example, this school year, we had lots of calls from other districts. We did keep our K-3 ratio as required by the state. So we have 234 teachers approximately in the school working, and they are working in their schools, in their home schools, because we borrowed teachers this year for the 7,000. So many of them are working in their schools, in their classrooms with their door closed. And honestly, they prefer that, because they can then reference all their teaching resources in the classroom. There were a few for own personal health reasons that they decided to work from home. But as we work through the school day, mirroring a schedule or making a schedule similar to the traditional brick and mortar schools, we were able to, because of certification issues, especially in middle school and in high school, use what we would call a supplemental or plug-in teacher. So for example, even though we have 234 students, we need some teachers to have that. We may need a chemistry teacher, and we may not have moved a chemistry teacher over from a high school. So we were able to offer a teacher to teach during her planning period in the virtual school, so the students would have the best chemistry experience that we could provide from a chemistry teacher. She was compensated for that, and we were able to cover those missing pieces from that. And so we actually tweaked our schedule to better mirror the secondary schedule so that we could use those teachers. We didn't need to do that as much at the elementary level. We ended up moving actually our literacy teachers into the school to offset the need for our teachers at the elementary level. And that has been a good experience for them. We had already been doing some work with our platforms and blended instruction over the last 3 years. So this wasn't a new complete shock for our teachers as they've been doing work district-wide. So that also helped as well. And we had a lot of our courses already created asynchronously, so teachers were prepared for that. And then the consistency in how things are put into the platform in Canvas for 612 and in Schoology K5, it allowed us to share resources across the district. And this summer we had everyone create their template. They had to be similar, and then we shared some base information to go in there. So as we quickly prepared for unexpected 7,000, because in July, we only had 2,000 people registered for our program. So when we end the year with 7,000 students in our virtual school, we had to have some things already ready for teachers to be able to pivot. And so we're thrilled to have the 2,000 left or that have applied for this fall, but we certainly this year had to create a process. So for example, if I decided this wasn't a good fit for me as a student and I want to go back, instead of all that movement, because we've had a bunch of change this year, we limit that movement to the semester. And then we have allowed people at the end of the third 9 weeks, which is where we are now. If there is a space, you're on a waiting list for your homeschool, then we move you back into your homeschool. If you want to go to virtual, when there's a space, we move you in, but we only move you now at the quarter and second semester and at the Christmas break, which was the end of our first semester. So I think that covered a bunch of those questions tied to the schedule. Did I cover that, Dr. Booker?
You did a great job. Thank you, Dr. Baldwin.
Jeff, I see a couple questions from Jeff Wallace on high school students. Jeff, for us, we ask our students to make a year-long commitment, but I can tell you, you heard Kristen talk about the application process. At the end of the first semester, we moved some of those kids back to their assigned school because the online school just wasn't the right fit for them. And I think you'll find that it's not the right fit. And we had to go through and learn some hard lessons through that process. We do allow our students to participate in athletics in the school in which they reside. So they have to abide by the attendance rules that any other student may use to attend to play athletics. Support staff, another question. We have hired a part-time data manager for Surrey Online Magnet. I am going to assign a school nurse that's already at another school. She will take the online magnet school kids really to help with the paperwork and any other issues there. And our online magnet school has seven teachers at this point. Jeff, I think you vary on and are different than we are on some of those answers.
Yeah, I would say to sports, we made the decision early on with ours that we would not have sports. So if you choose the virtual option, you are not having a sport option. Number of reasons with our size and 11 high schools, we didn't want to have that competition going. They have other choice options that we felt where we still allowed athletics. So we did not do that. See. Just reading through the questions to see about
Socioeconomics and racial diversity.
Yes.
I would just like to say what we have found with all of our choice programs, we now have 21. We find that they take care of themselves and that they mirror the district. We thought that certain groups that are more impacted by COVID would have larger enrollments in the virtual school, but we found that the enrollments have been pretty consistent across the district. So our socioeconomic and racial diversity is pretty similar to our district. Keep in mind that we are 65% free and reduced lunch, so we serve those families. One other thing that we're waiting to see more detail on that I would just say is an interesting nugget for us this year. We have found our schools that are most impacted by academic challenges and 100% Title I, the students' data in the virtual environment is much higher. So we're sort of doing some internal research to determine, is it because we have a more experienced teacher? Do they do better in that environment because it eliminates distractions in the classroom? So that has been very interesting. And I just want to share that with the person asking about the socioeconomic. We have found it actually at this point, we've seen some positive benefits to scores for those students in the school at this time.
I would like to piggyback another question in there, Travis, was about observations of teachers and things. Dr. Payne, if you talk about the structure where you've established your assistant principal cohorts, the weekly meetings that they're doing, and then how that then leads into observations, I think that has been really crucial for us because of the size of your elementary school.
So the principal that I work with, we created, we have a team, we've been given assistant principals. We have a team that we meet with every Friday morning, and we went through and we identified our teachers by grade level and assigned our assistant principals to specific grade levels to oversee and support. So with that structure, we have a rotation of observations. We conduct all of our GVA observations in addition to the observations in our home school. And then we meet with those teachers through their PLCs, through our post conferences. We help assign them a coach if needed or a lab site. So we might even send them to another classroom to view. But we work through that with those teachers, and it's been really cool to watch it unfold. The way that we went from a 4,000 plus elementary program to now they can tell me by name which students having problems, which teachers having problems, what their date is, just like Ms. Lake was saying she can do, and she knows her students better now. With our virtual kids and with our virtual teachers, we've been able to meet with them and meet their needs so that they could better meet kids' needs. I will say, in addition to our observation schedules, our PLC implementation is probably one of the things that I am the most proud of. Our entire administration team worked to build capacity in PLCs, and that has given our teachers a sense of belonging, and it gives them their group, just like they had in their home school, to truly talk about the standards and what we're teaching and why we're teaching and how we're assessing. And now if the student has it, what do I do? If they don't have it, what do I do? So they have built such strong teams and they rely on each other. And it's really neat. This past week, they did a awards day for their kids, for the kids who had made different things, and they showcase that. And they do a little video recording to send out to all the families. So they have worked collaboratively together, and our administrative team has been a fabulous support system for them. Each week on Wednesdays, my administrators lead their grade level staff meeting so that we make sure we can disseminate that information appropriately to the grade levels that they are a part of, and it has worked beautifully.
Dr. Payne, add a little bit about you and Mr. Ross and how you've shared the co-principal of the elementary.
So Mr. Ross is, he's my neighbor principal in our brick and mortar school, but he is the kindergarten through second grade principal, and I am 3-5. And then I also oversee the asynchronous program, and we work together on everything. We sit down and we meet and make sure that the direction of both programs, we are two separate groups, but we work together in everything that we do because we know that GVA has to move forward as one. So we work together to create our agendas for all of our meetings. We take care of each other. If he's got a situation at his homeschool, then I will help take care of his K-2 people and vice versa. But we also take care of our assistant principals so that they can best take care of their teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Payne.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to say from a smaller district, one of the things that I did at the very beginning that really helped with observations and, your typical walkthroughs is I asked each teacher to share their Google Calendar with me. And so I have access to pop into any session at any time. And so that helps too, because if we have a student that a teacher's meeting on, all they have to do is let us know that they're meeting, and all the teachers can pop in if needed. And that way we can support that student. But that's been really helpful in that case. The other thing that we've had with our flexibility is that it's a little bit different. We have to utilize the whole observation because our help sessions are as you would like, if you would like to come in. So we try to find times to observe them that way and be able to utilize that and make sure that we are able to see everything that we need to see with that situation. And our EC services, I saw somewhere in the question about our EC services. We have a teacher who teaches third grade and also EC at the same time. So she's responsible for our EC services. And we meet with our students virtually right now. And then we do have the option if a student needs to be served in the building that we can pull them, bring them in and serve them that way. That's how we serve our EC students.
And Christian, you did add a great note into the chat for everybody if you're going to do sports about the NCAA piece of that.
I will say if you're going to do this as a school, you need to start applying for everything early. ACT, NCAA, everything you can apply for, go ahead and get started because that takes a lot of the time and responsibility at the beginning.